The Giants show up with one of their offensive explosions, and as that's happening, more names are being added to the top trade candidate list, and they're up to 7. That's all coming up on Locked On Giants.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. My name is Alan Stiles, talking San Francisco Giants Monday through Friday. And today, of course, is no different. Today's episode is brought to you by Odoo. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free at odoo.com/locked on. That's odoo.com/locked on. Today, we are discussing Heliot Ramos and his offensive explosion. He's been on an absolute tear since he's returned to the lineup. 7 players as top trade candidates, according to ESPN. Yeah, that's a lot more than last time Jeff Passan and Kylie McDaniel whipped up this trade list. So even more names to talk about as well. And we're a couple days away from MLB Draft. Okay, we are a couple days away, so we'll give you a quick profile. We're going to do it a couple times as we lead up to the draft, but we'll give you an initial profile and some of the names you should look out for as far as who the Giants might be targeting when they make their pick at number 4. But we're going to flip things, okay? We're going to do our kind of recap of last night's game as well as a preview for tonight's game. We're going to do that first, okay? So basically, Heliot Ramos balled out. The Giants, they win 10-1. Feels like it's been a while since we've seen one of their crazy starts, but we're going to start with the pitching, actually. Landon Roop. This is what we were hoping to see from Landon Roop throughout the course of the season. 1 earned run, 3 hits. He pitched 8 innings, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. Then Spencer Bivens, who is back with the crew. We talked about Spencer Bivens months ago and how he wasn't getting an opportunity. Maybe Tony Vitello and the pitching staff just not as familiar with Spencer Bivens, but he is back up with the big league club, threw an inning, 2 strikeouts, and the Giants were able to get it done. From the hitting perspective, because obviously that was the main storyline, Heliot Ramos had 3 hits. He was 3 for 5 with 5 RBIs, 2 home runs. Could have been 3 home runs. It ended up being a Little League home run, a triple with an error, just like back in the day. And Heliot Ramos was joking with some of the players that they need to move the fence in. He would have had 3. Okay, so Heliot Ramos has been out of his mind since he's returned from being injured. He isn't, I'll give you a spoiler alert, he is not on the list as one of the top trade candidates for ESPN, but he is a name that I think we should all just keep an eye on. And I know some of the comments from yesterday's show, just as far as Allen, our offense is starting to figure itself out. Why would we trade those guys? Well, that's just normally how it happens, right? You're not going to have trade interest if guys aren't playing well. You're only going to have trade interest if guys are playing and hitting well. I think the frustrating thing for Giants fans right now is that all the guys that are trade candidates are the guys that you don't want to move. Right, the besides maybe Matt Chapman, but Willie Adames and Rafi Devers, they're not on any of the list. But I think most of us would be okay moving those guys. So that's the frustrating thing when we have to talk about players like Luis Arraez that you enjoy watching because he puts the bat on the ball. He's an all-star, by the way. The Giants get 2 all-stars. Who would have thought that Logan Webb would have been an all-star based on how the season started? But Logan Webb is an all-star and Luis Arraez is an all-star. And now you have John Heyman saying Luis Arraez is the number one all-star that could possibly be traded or most likely to be traded. So it's tough. It's frustrating. I completely understand that, but that's just how this thing works. You know, if those guys, if Rafi Devers and Willie Adames were, I guess, playing as well as we would have hoped, the Giants probably aren't in as bad of a position as they're in right now. Right. And there might be more trade interest, but the Giants, then you wouldn't want to move those guys because the Giants wouldn't be 9 games out or whatever they are of the last wild card. So that's kind of the push and pull here. But Heliot Ramos has been outstanding since he's returned. As far as who else did some damage, you had Luis Arraez. He's always going to get a knock. You had Devers with 2 walks, 2 runs scored. Jung Hoo Lee was 1 for 3 with a walk. You had Bryce Eldridge, who was 1 for 4. Victor Barracoto, 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs. The dude, and he got his RBIs. They were really important at the time. The Giants were up, but they weren't up big. I believe it was a 2-out knock when he went the other way. Victor Barracoto can hit. I mean, that's just the bottom line. The dude can absolutely mash, and you never know what these guys could become. I know last week we talked about, could he, be an all-star or a star for the Giants? There was a little bit of pushback, and I understand it. And I'm not sure that he's going to be, but the dude can absolutely hit. And the difference is in some of the hitting that I see with Victor Barracoto is the ability to go to all areas of the field. When these guys come up and they're just pull happy, that gets on my nerves. And it also shows that there are holes in their swing, right? Victor Barracoto, it feels like he just kind of goes with the flow. And you saw Heliot Ramos. I mean, one of his home runs was the opposite field, and the triple also was opposite field. So those are the types of guys that really can illustrate what a major league hitter should look like. And I know Heliot Ramos, all-star, 20 home runs over 20 home runs the last couple seasons. So I'm not putting Victor Barracoto in that conversation, but just these guys have the ability to handle the bat. And whether it's off speed, fastball, whatever it is, they do not look overmatched. And that's just nice to see. So those are pretty much the biggest storylines from what happened last night. As far as what's going to happen tonight, you have, I believe it's Trevor McDonald. Okay, Trevor McDonald taking on Spencer Miles. Spencer Miles, 25 years old this season. He is sitting at a 2.83 ERA with 55 strikeouts, a 1.04 whip. And as far as how many innings he's thrown, he has thrown in 54 innings. Okay, this is his rookie season, right? So 17 walks. He's given up 39 hits, 19 runs, and 17 earned runs. So this is a guy that the Blue Jays are obviously excited to have on the squad. So we'll see what the Giants can do, and I think what's going on here is this might be a bit of a bullpen game. He's a lefty. It might be a bit of a bullpen game for the Blue Jays. He's only started 2 games. Yeah. So the Blue Jays are kind of piecemealing this thing together, which has really been the story of their season this go round. On the other side, you have Trevor McDonald, who he is sitting at a 4.42 ERA, 3-6 with 50 strikeouts. Okay. And he's another guy in his last game. He threw 6 innings, gave up 1 hit with 5 strikeouts. So, that's more of what we saw early on from Trevor McDonald. So we hope that that's the version that we see versus, what the other starts that he's been out there and hasn't really turned it on. There's a reason that they wanted to go with him over Adrian Hauser. I know Adrian Hauser hasn't pitched very well, but Trevor McDonald came in really hot. So hopefully they can continue, or he can continue to pitch in that way and not kind of the other side that we've seen. Now, and here's the thing, you win a game, you're rocking, you put up 10 runs. Look, we are no longer, at least I am no longer looking at and I know I've said this multiple times, but the wild card and all of this, just put together some good baseball. Just put together good baseball, and that's all you can do. Because the reality is, we know that this roster is not going to look like this by the time the trade deadline passes. We don't know who's going to be there and who's not, but we know that it won't look exactly like this. And speaking of the trade deadline, Jeff Passan, if you're wondering, hey, Alan, it feels like we talked about this, or you discussed this top 100 trade candidate list before. That's because I have. But Jeff Passan just updated it, and there is a very, very important change that you are not going to want to miss when we get back on the other side. More Locked On Giants coming up. Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing the business instead of managing software. The best organizations know that success isn't just about talent. It's about having everyone working toward the same goal. That's true in sports, just like it is in business. Think about when the Niners drafted Brock Purdy, right? The last pick in the draft. Nobody really thought that he was going to do much in the league, but the Niners knew what they had in him, and they knew he could be a part of the organization and help them move in the right direction. One thing that really stands out is how the Niners got everyone pulling in the same direction with the decision to draft one Brock Purdy. It wasn't just about one great player or coach. It was a coordinated effort across the entire organization that made it successful. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. Next segment with you, and we have, as promised, an updated trade candidate list. So there are 100, right? So Jeff Passan, Kylie McDaniel of ESPN, they have 100 of the top trade candidates, and the Giants have 7. The Giants have 7 on the list. Now, before you start trying to guess who's on the list, let me tell you right now, I don't think you're going to figure out who the top name is because I didn't expect this either. And look, I'm not going to say yelled at, but there were a lot of Giants fans not happy with me when I threw out this name initially. But it was so obvious based on how much he's making and how well he's been playing. I'm not surprised that this name is on the list. I am surprised at how high it is. I really am. But we weren't going to be able to avoid this forever. Unfortunately, the Giants have not won enough baseball games, so we are stuck in the selling position. And with that, I will not tease you any longer. Coming in at number 7 on the list, cover your ears if you're a big fan of this outfielder, Jung Hoo Lee. Jung Hoo Lee is number 7. That's right. Number 7 as far as the top trade candidates, the top 100 trade candidates, according to ESPN. Jung Hoo Lee. And this is the breakdown. Jung Hoo Lee, chances of being traded 50%. 50%. Rest of season impact, high. Years of control, 3 more years after 2026 at $21 million per year. And here is the buzz. While the Giants' desire to dump their high-profile players with high-priced contracts will run into plenty of resistance, they should be able to cobble together a market if they really are interested in moving Lee. The 27-year-old is top 5 in Major League Baseball in batting average and strikeout rate, and considering he's carrying a slugging percentage in excess of 450 and can also play all around the outfield, Lee is primed to get a big return if the Giants indeed move him. The scouting report, Lee is a high contact hitter with the 4th best in-zone contact rate in the majors. He can play all 3 outfield spots, but isn't a standout defender or base runner, closer to average. He hits the ball on the screws often, but has below average raw power. So you're looking at 8 to 12 homers a year with elite batting average. That's a solid everyday player, but not a star. Here are some of the best fits: the Phillies, the Braves, the Guardians, the Padres can't do that. The Diamondbacks can't do that. The Rangers, the Rays, and the Marlins. I tried to tell y'all. And it wasn't just, me wanting to move him. It just made sense. At the beginning of the season, when Jung Hoo Lee was struggling, we looked at that contract and said, man, how in the world are the Giants are going to be able to get off of that contract, right? They're kind of stuck with it. Now it's almost viewed as a positive, right? As a top 15 paid outfielder in the league, he's playing like it now. He's playing better than that. So things can switch very quickly in this league. We understand that month to month. So that is the name. I did not expect to see Jung Hoo Lee that high on the list. I'm not necessarily surprised that he was on the list at all, but that high was pretty interesting. Number 9 is much less surprising. Luis Arraez is number 9 on the list. Chances of being traded, 90%. Rest of season impact, moderate. So that's interesting because Jung Hoo Lee had high as far as his rest of season impact, and Luis Arraez just has moderate. Here is the buzz. Arraez has done more to improve himself in the eyes of teams than perhaps anyone on this list. He's second. His second base defense this year is among the best in the league. Teams also understand how valuable putting the ball in play can be in the postseason, and nobody is better at that than Arraez, who's going to lead Major League Baseball in strikeout rate for the 5th consecutive season with experience at first base as well. Arraez's versatility expands his market, positioning him to join his 5th team in 5 years. The scouting report was a lot about how much better he's been defensively and his ability to play second base. Here are the best fits for Arraez: the Rays, the Nationals, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Blue Jays, the Diamondbacks, the Guardians, and the Pirates. So that's a lot of teams and a lot of National League teams. You don't like seeing that. Now, as we get into some of the other names here, Matt Chapman, okay, third base for the San Francisco Giants. He's at number 15. Chance of being traded, 25%. Rest of season impact, high. Years of control, 4 years after 2026 at $100 million. Chapman, here's the buzz. Chapman has been characteristically strong this season, hitting enough and playing well above average third base. If he wasn't owed $100 million from 2027 to 2030, his age 34 and 37 seasons, along with having a full no trade clause, he would be much higher on this list. It's the issue, really, with all the Giants' aging players. They like to move. The combination of age and money owed leaves the deals underwater or close to it. Nobody is taking Rafi Devers unless San Francisco pays down significantly the $211 million he is owed after this season or takes on bad contracts. Same for Willy Adames, whose defense has gone in the wrong direction. Chapman's glove salvages his value and puts him at least in play, and that's why it's only at 25%. We know what the scouting report is. Best fits: the Cardinals, the A's, the Nationals, the Brewers, the Marlins, the Phillies, the Mets, and the Red Sox. All right, so those are some of the names that were, of course, expected. Continuing along here, Robbie Ray at number 22, chances of being traded, 90%. Rest of season impact, moderate. Obviously, he's only controlled for the remainder of 2026. Ray's struggles at the beginning of the season have dissipated, and after turning in back-to-back 8-inning starts without allowing an earned run, he is showing off as he prepares to hit free agency this winter. The former AL Cy Young Award winner is leaning more heavily on a changeup he picked up last season, and his velocity is enough to keep hitters honest. For a mid-rotation veteran, he's a perfect fit as long as the acquiring team can tolerate an excess of walks, and that has just been something Robbie Ray has always done throughout his career. Best fits: White Sox, the Cubs, the Diamondbacks, the A's, the Blue Jays, the Braves, the Padres, the Cardinals, and the Rays. So the Diamondbacks and the Rays just need everything. I think they've been on every single list here, or every single player. It's been a good fit. So just like last time, only the top 25 have the full-blown scouting reports, and then they just list out the other players. So number 50 is Caleb Killian of the Giants, number 70, Harrison Bader of the Giants, and number 77, JT Brubaker. So 7 names on the list, and it feels like a lot. I'd have to look at, now I get it, they're sellers, right? So they're probably more inclined to have more Giants players on the list than a team that might be thinking about buying. So I understand all that. That's a lot of names, and that's a lot of draft capital and prospects and farm system building blocks that you can add in if you're maybe able to move, I don't know, at least 3 or 4 of them, right? I don't think you're going to get a ton back for a JT Brubaker. Don't get me wrong. Another name that was interesting that I didn't see was Tyler Mahle. Tyler Mahle's name has been thrown around before, but I did not see him on the list. Now we'll see the next time they update it. But yeah, man, I was really floored when I saw Jung Hoo Lee. Now they put it at 50%. I still maintain that they're not going to move Jung Hoo Lee. I just think that Giants fans are already ticked off enough. If you move a fan favorite like Jung Hoo Lee, it better be for an absolute haul. And I still don't think they would do it. The Giants just aren't in a position. And look, and I've said this before, the Giants like making money, and they're not shy about how important marketing is. And Jung Hoo Lee is probably the most marketable player on the team. How much that should matter? Well, it depends on who you ask. But I feel like all of that is a part of it, which is another reason I just don't think the Giants have the you-know-whats to trade Jung Hoo Lee in the midst of a brutal season like this. I don't think they would do it. Now, to have him number 7 on this list means that you probably would get a super solid return. I still don't see the Giants pulling it off. I just don't think they would. One more segment with you. Let's get into an MLB draft profile. Who are some of the names you need to know as we approach the MLB draft? More Locked On Giants coming up. Have you ever noticed how the second you search for something online, ads for that exact thing start following you everywhere? Or maybe you're traveling, trying to access a website, stream a game, or watch content you normally use at home, and suddenly you're hit with that message. This content isn't available in your region. That's why more and more people are turning to Proton VPN. Proton VPN is a secure VPN service designed for people who want more privacy, more security, and more control over how they experience the internet. It helps keep your online activity private, protects your data on public Wi-Fi, and gives you access to the internet the way it should work. Open, secure, and on your terms. Unlike most VPNs, Proton is backed by strong European privacy laws, has a strict, independently verified no logs policy, and is built by a company focused on protecting users, not tracking them. In baseball, we spend a lot of time talking about gaining an edge and controlling what you can control. The same idea applies online. Having the right tools can make a huge difference in your day-to-day experience. There's nothing worse than when you're trying to stream a Giants game and you're unable to watch because you're traveling. It's so brutal. It's always frustrating when you're on the road and suddenly something you use all the time isn't available. That's one of those moments where having a tool like Proton VPN just makes life easier because you're not running into those unnecessary roadblocks. It's easy to get started. Right now, Proton VPN is offering our listeners 70% off a 2-year plan when you go to protonvpn.com/lockedonmlb. That's protonvpn.com/lockedonmlb for 70% off your 2-year plan. That's protonvpn.com/lockedonmlb. Last segment with you, and let's talk about some hope, right? And the MLB draft gives you just that, a lot of hope. So this is from ESPN. Kylie McDaniel, very busy right now. And basically, he has a breakdown of the 2026 MLB draft, one big question and intel for all 30 teams. We also have something from The Athletic that we'll probably talk about tomorrow, just all of their kind of MLB draft analysis getting going here as we are getting so close to the draft. So the question that Kylie has for the San Francisco Giants, one big question, obviously they have pick number 4. One big question: do the Giants get their wish and land Emerson or Cholowski at the 4th pick? There has been buzz for months that the Giants are trying everything they can to get Grady Emerson or Rock Cholowski to their pick. When this draft seemed as if it had a clear first and second best prospect, Cholowski, then Emerson, this was a logical thing to try with a tiny chance of working. Now that Lackey has joined the group, there's a better chance as the Giants just need to get one team, probably the Twins, to blink and choose to take a less consensus talent for savings. That's still unlikely, but it at least now seems conceivable. If that doesn't happen, it sounds as if San Francisco's choice will come down to Jackson Flora or Eric Booth Jr., as it appears that Jacob Lombard has fallen behind these two. So basically, it's just a matter of trying to sign someone that's less of a consensus and you would save some money, right? That's the idea here. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but that's obviously the idea here. So here is the mock draft that Kylie has. Rock Chalowski from UCLA. This isn't as easy as a call as you might think, with a pretty clear top tier of Chalowski, Grady Emerson, and Von Lackey in this class. With the White Sox contending right now and running a lower payroll, the lean is toward college players. So that gets us Chalowski and Lackey. I don't think any of these players would cut a huge deal at this pick. And in general, you should just pick the best player at the top pick. I'll go with Chalowski because his combination of timetable, high floor, premium position, and track record is just too much to pass up. Number 2, Grady Emerson. So again, those are the two guys there. He's got Lackey out of Georgia Tech at 3. And at number 4, Jackson Flora, who I know a lot of Giants fans are happy about. And McDaniel writes, now it starts getting tricky. You could go upside with riskier position players in Jacob Lombard, Justin LeBron, or Eric Booth Jr., safety with Drew Burress, or the hot rising name with Tyler Bell, or you could keep it simple and go with the consensus fourth best prospect in Flora. Flora shouldn't come quite as quickly or with the high floor as Chalowski Lackey, but has a front line upside for me. This is the last potential quick-moving college player with some ceiling where this line of thinking is relevant. So I probably would have gone with one of the upside choices if the Giants picked 5th and Flora was off the board. Then he has Lombard going 5th and to the Pirates, and Eric Booth Jr. going 6th. So doesn't seem like a lot of people believe that the Giants are going to be able to pull it off, but stranger things have happened. You know, it can get a little bit squirrely with how much money you're willing to offer a certain player. And obviously, you know, none of these teams want to put themselves in a position where they have those question marks. So like we've kind of laid out, very, very small chance that this actually works and the Giants are able to grab Chalowski or Emerson, but you're saying there's a chance. There's always a chance. Either way, at the end of the day, the Giants are in a great position to add somebody really important to their future, as they already have this farm system that's continuing to grow. You got to hit on this. It's very important to hit on this. This is a big deal for Buster, but assuming you do get it right, that can help accelerate this farm system process, as we're all just looking towards the future at this point in time. And if you do get a college guy, there's a chance that he's not going to take as long as some of these high school dudes, right? Because nowadays guys are flying through the farm system in a way that they really hadn't in the past. So we'll see what happens. We have kind of more breakdowns for you from other outlets to get you ready for the 2026 MLB Draft. Thank you for listening to Locked On Giants. Thank you for watching Locked On Giants. Be sure to follow me on social media at @_Styles Files, Styles with an I. We will talk to you tomorrow. Until then, peace.